today we are so lucky to have Courtney, and she's going to talk to us about the Northwest Arkansas Book Fest, the NWA Book Fest. And we don't know when it is yet, but I bet she knows, and she's going to tell us all about it. So we're glad to have you, Courtney.
Yeah. So excited to chat a little bit more about Book Fest, and I do have information on this year's Book Festival that I'll share at the end. I'm very excited to have solidified some things in the last couple of weeks. Before we get started, I did want to just introduce myself. So my name is Courtney Smith. I'm an Arkansas native. I'm from Fayetteville. Grew up, my mom's a public school teacher. Started two businesses in Rogers with my husband. The first one we started back in 2017 is Dandy Roll, and then we opened up Underbrush Books in downtown in 2021. So we're longtime Rogers folks now. But I feel very passionate about Arkansas, and specifically helping us cultivate the talent that is in Arkansas, which is one of the reasons that we started Book Fest back in 2023. So how did Book Fest get started? I don't know if any of y'all came to this event, but our first year was on Arkansas Street in downtown Rogers. It was one little tiny block, and it was on April 1st, 2023. We started it through our bookstore. It was supposed to be a one-time festival in Rogers, and we just took over that block for one day. We had author readings, we had a little street festival of bookstores and makers. We had story times, live music, open mic poetry, just all of these things. And the atmosphere was really compelling and very lively. And I had folks coming up to me throughout the day and after the event asking, like, how do we get involved? How do we volunteer? How do we sponsor? And I was like, it's just me. Like, I'm just one person, so I don't actually know how you get involved and how you sponsor, but would love to figure that out. And so what it told me was I maybe tapped in to something that I didn't realize. And so in 2023, we had over 1,500 attendees throughout the day. We were able to spotlight 40 businesses and 25 local authors. And unbeknownst to myself, that was just the beginning. And so at the end of 2023, early 2024, we received our IRS paperwork, and NWA Book Fest was officially a 501c3 registered nonprofit. And since then, we have been, we've brought on a board, we have started sponsorships and partnerships with other organizations in the area to really expand Book Fest's reach. But when we think about Book Fest as a nonprofit entity, our mission is to support the growing literary community in Northwest Arkansas through celebration and what we call gentle reading practices. So I do want to spend a little bit of time and talk through this mission and what exactly that means. So why specifically Arkansas Voices? Like I said, I am an Arkansas native, and my whole life I felt like a lot of the large organizations, their approach to cultivating culture in Northwest Arkansas is to bring in culture. It's things like having Boris Johnson talk about the heartland and that kind of content. And I love those experiences. So experiences are amazing. You know, when I grew up here, there was nothing. We didn't have the amp. There were no concerts. I had to travel to go to all of those things. So I'm not trying to say that those aren't rich cultural experiences. However, I do believe that there is a level of talent and a level of culture that already exists here that is sometimes being overshadowed by some of the larger organizations instead of cultivating that from within. And so to Book Fest, we believe that true cultural growth doesn't come from importing talent. It comes from investing in the writers and the storytellers and the artists and all of the people who live here and work here. And because they live here and work here, we do feel like they have a deep sense of place. And that place goes throughout their work. And that place really helps put Arkansas on the map. And that's what we get when we think of organic culture rather than manufactured culture. So that is why our NWA Book Fest does focus on what we call Arkansas Voices. We have now expanded to kind of a regional outlook, but we do ask that any author that we are highlighting in our festival have some sort of regional connection to either Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, you all know the works. And so we focus on whether that's somebody who grew up there, whether that's somebody who lives there now, whether that's somebody who's writing stories about that place. We always ask that there is some sort of tie to our region in order to be a focus of our festival. Why celebration? Why did we feel like celebration was important to include in our mission? I mean, we believe that celebration is a vital part of any work because it really honors the progress and the people that make our organization and impact possible. We believe celebration creates space for joy. It creates connection. It helps shine a light on voices that have often been excluded from spaces, particularly when we talk about marginalized communities and authors who maybe don't go through the traditional publishing path is one that we talk about a lot. And so celebration just is a way to remind ourselves why our work matters. Celebration is a way to include our community, but we are a volunteer board, and without celebration, doing some of this work off the side of our desks in our 5 to 9s, some would say, celebration reminds us that that's okay, and that's why we're doing it. And the one that we get questions about the most is gentle reading. So gentle reading is a term that we came up with as a board when we were first kind of starting our nonprofit work. It's this idea that anyone can call themselves a reader. There's been a lot of stigma in the reading community throughout the years, and a lot of people don't always consider themselves readers or feel like they're welcome in that space because they feel like they need to read a certain amount of books a year, or they only listen to audiobooks, or they only read fiction, they don't read nonfiction. And so we really wanted to say that none of that matters. If you read anything ever, you can be a reader if you want to be a reader. And so we want to remove that pressure to read in a certain format or read a certain number of pages. And gentle reading to us is what helps honor reading as a deeply personal thing that people do. We believe reading is a life-giving practice, and we want everyone in our community to be able to celebrate and identify as a reader. And so by embracing gentle reading, we hope that we're making space for lifelong readers like myself, but also opening up the doors for brand new readers, whether those be kids or maybe those are adults who are getting back into reading. When I started our bookstore back in 2020 was when we first started. That was one of the reasons we opened, was because we realized during the COVID-19 pandemic that a lot of people were trying to get into reading again. And it's really hard to learn to read as an adult. If you have taken a break, whether that's because you got burned out in college or you had kids and didn't have enough time, trying to get back into that habit can be a big challenge. And so we want to make sure that people are feeling supported as they're going through that journey. So that's one of the reasons that we believe NWA Book Fest is an important community organization. So anyway, we believe that everyone belongs, even if you just enjoy storytelling in any of its forms. So Book Fest, we use that right now. We use our 2 major programs to talk about that mission. Our first one is NWA Book Fest, which is our annual festival, which is the one that I think most people know us from. But then we also have a program called NWA Book Swap that happens once a year as well. We also do a variety of other random things, whether that's trivia. Sometimes we had a podcast for a while. We do blog posts. We worked with the University of Arkansas this year and are working on getting a website up for local authors that helps them walk through all of their potential publishing paths, resources, community writing groups. We worked with the U of A's Masters of Design program, and they were able to help us kind of do some research, understand what the needs were, how we might meet those needs, and we're in the process of actually bringing that to life. So super thankful for the partnership with the University of Arkansas as well. So why Book Fest? There's a lot of festivals in Northwest Arkansas or in Arkansas as a whole, but we feel like our version of the book festival provides something unique and something different than a lot of these. We see, organizations doing major work across all different types of storytelling, whether that is film, whether that is music. You could also throw a format festival in here, but I don't think they're active right now, or whether that's visual arts. But we have not seen an organization try to tackle literary arts. We feel like that is a gap. And we've asked ourselves, why? Why don't we have the Bentonville Film Festival of Literary Arts? There are two major literary festivals. They're library sponsored. One is in Little Rock. It is the Six Bridges Festival. It is an incredible, I think it's 4 or 5 days now, of full day programming. They bring in some amazing voices, amazing authors. Totally love what they are doing. So if you all ever get a chance to go down to Little Rock, it's in September. This year it's actually the week after our event. So if you really want to get some author exposure, we are trying to make sure that we are bringing different authors than what they're bringing. There's a little bit of crossover, but not much. And then there's True Lit at the Fayetteville Library, which is a shorter festival, always bring in some incredible authors like Nick Stone, R.L. Stein. But we do feel like NWA Book Fest is unique from these two because we are grassroots. Grassroots organizations, we feel like, are built with and not just for the people they serve. Institutions sometimes are having to operate within certain constraints like locations, budgets. Sometimes government bodies have oversight into the things that they are doing. Grassroots organizations can operate outside of those limits, and we feel like that is a way that we can differentiate our impact from some of those larger institutions. We also believe very strongly in the fact that our festival is built from the ground up by community members. And so the people who are interacting with our festival are actually on the ground helping us, suggest what types of topics they want covered, what authors do they want us to see, what workshops do they want us to bring. And a lot of times they're not only helping influence the direction, but they're also helping bring those things to life. And so we do feel like grassroots organizations that are driven by local passion, lived experience, and creative freedom. So we can also be more nimble. We can be more inclusive and more experimental because we don't have trusts and large grants and large government entities that we have to kind of please when we're making decisions. We're able to truly do what we feel is best for our community, which can be scary. It means that we have much smaller budgets and we have to fundraise a lot harder. And I have to beg door to door for people to give me $500 so I can bring my festival to life. But it does allow us to have a different kind of impact. So we think that there is room amongst all of these large names. We do feel like there is room for our organization as well. So in 2024, we had our second year, and this was the one that was in Fayetteville. One thing to mention is that Book Fest does change our city every year. Part of that is because we want different communities to have access to Book Festival. Northwest Arkansas is a very spread out community, and as you all probably know, our public transit system is not as incredible as some other larger cities. And so by moving the location of the festival, we hope that that opens up for different people to be able to access and attend. So first year was in Rogers, last year was in Fayetteville, this year is in Bentonville. We hope to one day bring it to Springdale as well. But right now there's just not a large enough venue in Springdale, at least indoors. So last year we had about 2,000 attendees. That was up about 500 from year one, which is awesome. We were actually able to support 25 self-published authors and 14 traditionally published authors. So when I say traditionally published, I mean those that are backed by one of the big 5 publishers, people like Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, HarperCollins, Macmillan, Hachette. There's a lot of those out there. So we had 14 traditionally published authors and 30 local businesses. This impact was over 7 hours. We started at 10 and we concluded at 5. So in 7 hours, we were able to allow readings, we were doing panels, we had a market, we had story times. And so if we look at some of the festivals and the impact that they're doing, that's spread out over days and days and days. We cram all that into one day. It is fast and I am exhausted and I walk about 5 miles throughout the day in one little square conference room. But it's just very upbeat and lively, and you can really feel the energy, which I love. This is a picture of the venue. Right at the beginning, we had a line for the first time. I had to turn people away. I had people trying to get in the door at like 8:30 when vendors were still setting up. And then my personal favorite, I included this image. This is Ayana Gray. She is a local author who lives in Little Rock now. She wrote the Beast of Prey series, which is a teen fantasy set in African mythology. It is an all-Black cast of characters. So she joined us to talk about Beast of Prey, and then next to her is Andrea L. Rogers, who just won the Caldecott this year. She is a local Cherokee author. She lives out in Mountain Home, and she has a ton of books. They were specifically talking about The Art Thieves, which is her newest release, and then True Child, which is the one at the very, very end, is the one that she just won the Caldecott for. We love her, so she's amazing. So this was a teen fantasy panel that we did to talk about diversity in teen fantasy and why diverse voices and why teens deserve to see folks that think like them, look like them, and have the lived experiences that they do in the literature that they are reading. Now moving on to Book Swap. Why Book Swap? There are 900 million books sold in the US alone each year, and that is not even including the amount of books that are printed. I think there's like something 2 billion plus books are printed in the US alone each year. 30 million trees are used to support those 900 million. And where this becomes a problem is that 1/3 of all book purchases end up in the trash before they're read. Most people buy books and they maybe don't interest them, they change their mind, they sit on a shelf, and they actually end up in the trash and in landfills. It is a huge overconsumption problem in the publishing industry. So we started Book Swap, which is a way for us to center sustainability and community connection over consumption. Book Swap is a very affordable, low ticket cost event where people bring in their gently used books. We have a team of people who go through all of those books and say whether or not we are going to accept them, so that we have quality books and not just people trying to bring old cookbooks. And I've gotten a lot of random diet books from the 1970s and 1980s that I've had to turn away. And so it's a way for them to bring in newly, we ask that they publish within the last 10 years. Books. We sort them all into tables based by genre and topic, and then the number of books you bring us is the number of books that you get to take home. It is like a swarm of locusts. I cannot even explain. We spend about 5 to 6 hours in the morning sorting all these books, putting them on tables, making them look all nice, and then the tables are empty in 30 minutes. It is one of the most fast-paced, chaotic events that we have ever had. We are looking at ways that we can kind of traffic gate this year to make it a little bit slower paced, so it's not a frenzy, but it is just fun. I mean, I have people message me daily asking when the next book swap is. I'm I gotta get through Book Fest first, and then we'll get to that. But anyway, this is a way for us to remove barriers and make owning books more accessible. I do feel like the privilege to own books and have books in your home and on your bookshelves is something that not everybody has. And obviously we love our libraries, but there is something special about being able to say that something is yours and yours to keep. And so this is a way to make that accessible and allow people access to maybe some hardcovers that they weren't able to afford. Hardcovers are expensive. They're $32 now. And that's a minimum. So we don't ask, you could bring us 10 paperbacks and take home 10 hardcover books. It just is a way to kind of remove barriers in whatever ways we can, while also keeping people from throwing books away. And finding homes that where people will enjoy them, because I am definitely guilty of buying books myself, being oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I'm gonna read this, and then 6 months later being why did I buy that? I have no interest in that thing at all. And so usually I have a little free library mine, but Book Swap is a good opportunity for folks to kind of get rid of those. And it's also just to celebrate the idea that stories are meant to be passed on. Stories are an oral tradition. Stories are meant to be shared. Stories are meant to be, they're not meant to be hoarded like little dragons. They're meant to be read and passed along to somebody else who might find meaning and impact from them. One of the biggest questions I do get is, how can you get involved in Book Fest? So Book Fest this year is actually a 2-day event. It is going to be at the Ledger in Bentonville. It is September 27th and 28th. Saturday is Book Fest like usual. We will have author panels, we will have local author readings, we're going to have signing events, community workshops. This is something new that we are introducing this year, so they're going to be, once again, very affordable. They are going to be ticketed, but they're going to be very low cost ways for people to connect. So some of the ones that we are thinking of are like, we have a local fiber artist who is going to be running a storytelling through fiber art workshop, which I don't know what that is going to look like, but I'm so excited about it. We will have our maker market, a poetry open mic that is going to be run by our good friends at Northwest Arkansas Poetry, and more. We're still planning out the content of that. And then Sunday is our Book Fest Kids. This event was supposed to happen for the first time last year. It was scheduled for the weekend after the tornado hit. And so we had to cancel because the venue it was an outdoor event and the venue was severely impacted. So we are bringing it back for the first time this year. But Kids Fest is a full day festival that is specifically made for families with pre-K all the way up to about middle school is our target age range, though we will have some writing workshops and craft stations for teens. So it will have everything from story times, wiggle times, dance times, yoga. We will have tons of amazing community partners that are working with us on bringing workshops, craft stations, all kinds of things, specifically for families. Both of these events are free. That is part of our mandate. We do not, Book Fest will always be free. There might be some ticketed add-ons and experiences, but just to help with capacity, because we do expect 2,000 to 3,000 people to come through each day. But these both are our community and free events. If you are interested, if you are a local author and you're interested in either being an author or a vendor, we do have those applications up. They are open until the 18th of July. And then we will be reaching out to folks at the end of July. And you can learn more at NWABookFest.com. And our biggest ask, because we are a grassroots organization, we do not have any large backing groups, is, we are looking for sponsors and donors. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so all of our donations are tax deductible and they directly support our programs. This little QR code takes you to donate. If you do, there's everything from one time to monthly. You can donate as little as $5 and as much as you'd like. And then if you or an organization are interested in potentially being a sponsor, that's my email, president@NWABookFest.com, and then our fundraising email at NWABookFest.com. And yeah, that's all that I have. So I'd love to just chat and answer any questions, anything I didn't cover about either the organization or the event.
Can you give the date?
Yes, it is September 27th and 28th.
At what time?
So it's all day. So it starts at 10 and goes till about 7. But we are in the middle of trying to plan out our actual program by the day. So what authors we're going to be bringing in, and what times those panels are going to be. So we'll have a full lineup announced closer to the event, but typically runs 10 to 7. Kids Fest will be a little shorter because it is on a Sunday and it is for families and kids. So we'll start a little earlier and end a little earlier. I think we're looking at 9 to 5 for that one.
Is there a fee for the author or vendor application?
There is not a fee for the author spots, like the reading spots. Those, once again, are something we feel very passionate about, making those free. So every author, they do have to apply. We have way more people interested than we have capacity or space. We typically have about 15 to 20 reading spots, and we typically have about 60 people who apply. So we do try to prioritize authors who have not spoken at the festival before or have released a new work. So that way we're bringing something new to people every year. So it is a free to read. However, we do offer a table, like a full day table. So if you'd like to bring your books and sell throughout the day, we have a it's $75 this year, $75 table, which is just an all day thing in our maker market. But yeah, once again, we feel very passionately about keeping as much as we can free. And then vendors, those booths do cost. That helps us offset the cost of the event itself. So they're 10 by 10 booths, and all of that information is on the applications. Amazing. Well, thank you all so much. This is a little passion project of myself, all of these people here, and many more. This is our board. We are all bookstore owners, local authors, students. Loss of Justice at the very end is a law student who joined our board last year. We have a couple people from different library boards throughout Northwest Arkansas, people in grad programs, so we're all kinds of walks of life, all different types of experience, and we are all just kind of coming together to bring this to life for the community. So, awesome. Thank you all.